You die. Your heart stops. Brain shuts down. Medical instruments flatline. But then you wake up, breathing, alive, except something is wrong. Not with your body. With reality itself. Small details feel off. People's lives are slightly different. Events you clearly remember never happened. Dates are wrong. Relationships erased. History rewritten. 3 people experienced clinical death, came back, but came back to the wrong timeline. Same world, same life, but shifted, parallel. What they discovered will make you question which version of reality you're living in right now. Lisa Chen was 28 years old, elementary school teacher in Oregon, March 2019. She went to dinner with friends at a seafood restaurant. Ordered shrimp scampi. Within minutes, her throat started closing. Anaphylactic shock. Severe allergic reaction. She'd eaten shrimp before. No problems. But this time her body rejected it violently. Paramedics arrived fast, loaded her into ambulance, administered epinephrine. Her heart was racing. Then it stopped. Complete cardiac arrest. The paramedic called it flatline. He started chest compressions. His partner prepared the defibrillator. 4 minutes passed. No pulse, no breathing. Lisa Chen was clinically dead in the back of that ambulance racing toward the hospital. The defibrillator shocked her chest, once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th shock, her heart restarted. Spontaneous circulation returned. She was alive again. Rushed into emergency. Stabilized. Admitted to ICU for observation. When Lisa woke up, her husband Michael was at her bedside, tears streaming down his face, relief overwhelming him. She smiled weakly. Everything hurt. Her chest ached from the compressions, throat raw, but she was alive. They kept her 2 days for observation, then sent her home. Lisa thought the worst was over. She was wrong. The real horror started at home, sitting with her family at dinner. Her mother mentioned something casual about grandmother's death. Still can't believe she died at 67. So young, barely got to enjoy retirement. Lisa froze, fork halfway to her mouth. What did you say? Her mother looked concerned. Grandma, she died at 67, in 2003. Are you okay, honey? Maybe the oxygen deprivation affected your memory. Lisa's heart was pounding again. Mom, Grandma died at 72. In 2005, I was at the funeral. I remember everything. Her mother exchanged worried glances with Michael. Sweetie, no. She died in 2003. You were 20. You definitely remember. We all went to the funeral together. Lisa knew her grandmother died at 72. She had vivid memories. The funeral. The eulogy. Her grandmother's face in the casket. She was 72. Lisa was certain. Absolutely certain. But her mother insisted. Records showed 2003. Her grandmother was 67. Lisa checked her phone later. Old photos. Found the funeral. Dated 2003. Her grandmother looked younger in the casket. Not 72, 67. But Lisa's memory screamed 72. 2005. How could she be wrong about something so fundamental? She couldn't, but the evidence said otherwise. She tried to dismiss it. Memory sometimes fails after trauma. Oxygen deprivation. Brain damage, maybe. Except there was more. Michael mentioned his daughter a week later. Casual reference to Sarah's upcoming birthday. Lisa stared at him. What daughter? Michael laughed nervously. Sarah, my daughter. From my first marriage. Are you joking? Lisa wasn't joking. Michael was never married before her. She knew this. They discussed it. His dating history. He'd had long relationships but never married. Never had children. This was definite. Foundational to their relationship. She knew him, or thought she did. Michael pulled out his phone, showed her photos, him younger, in a tuxedo, standing next to a woman Lisa had never seen. Wedding photo. More photos. A child, little girl, growing older in the images. Sarah, his daughter. Lisa felt reality sliding sideways. She checked her own messages with Michael, scrolled back years, found references. Sarah's dance recital tomorrow. Don't forget, it's my weekend with Sarah. Jennifer called about custody again. Messages she didn't remember sending, but they were there, in her phone, her words. Lisa checked with friends, asked about Michael's ex-wife. Everyone knew about Jennifer, his first marriage, the divorce, custody battles, everyone except Lisa. In her memory, Michael was never married before. Sarah didn't exist, but in this reality they always had. Lisa researched obsessively, found online forums, quantum immortality, people describing identical experiences, died, resuscitated, came back, but reality was different. Small details wrong. Family members' lives altered, historical events shifted. Lisa wasn't crazy. She was in the wrong timeline. David Martinez was 34. Construction worker in Texas, July 2021. Routine appendectomy. Should have been simple. In and out, same day. Except during surgery, something went wrong. Anesthesia complication. His heart stopped unexpectedly. Cardiac arrest on the operating table. The surgeon called Code Blue. Crash team rushed in. Chest compressions, medications, defibrillator. His EEG flatlined. Brain activity ceased. 8 minutes of clinical death. Longest 8 minutes of the surgical team's careers. They kept working, refused to give up. Finally, his heart restarted. Pulse returned. Brain function resumed. David Martinez lived. Woke up in recovery confused but alive. Doctors were relieved. Close call. He went home a week later. Thought everything was fine. Until he was watching television with his wife, Elena. News anchor mentioned the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday. Third Thursday of November as always. David frowned. Third Thursday? Thanksgiving is fourth Thursday. Elena looked at him confused. No, honey. It's always been third Thursday, every year, since forever. David was certain, absolutely certain. Thanksgiving was fourth Thursday of November. Always had been. He remembered every Thanksgiving of his life. Fourth Thursday. Without exception. He Googled it. Every source said third Thursday. Wikipedia, history websites, government pages, third Thursday of November. Established by presidential proclamation. Never changed. David's head spun. He knew it was fourth Thursday. Crystal clear memory. But every piece of evidence contradicted him. He mentioned it to a friend. His friend looked at him like he was insane. Dude, everyone knows it's third Thursday. Are you feeling okay? Maybe that surgery scrambled your brain. David dropped it. But he couldn't shake the wrongness. Then he mentioned 9/11 to another friend. The terrorist attacks. Crazy how it's been over 20 years since September 11th. His friend interrupted. September 10th, 9/10, 2001. David stopped. What? No. It was September 11th, 9/11. That's why everyone calls it 9/11. His friend stared. David, seriously, are you okay? It was September 10th, 9/10. Everyone knows that. There are memorials, museums. All say September 10th. David checked. Historical records. Memorial websites. 9/10/2001. September 10th. Every source agreed. But David remembered September 11th. Vividly. He watched the news that day. The date burned into his memory. September 11th, 9/11. Except in this reality, it never happened that way. The wrongness got worse. David visited his parents, mentioned his cousin Roberto casually. Has Roberto called you lately? His mother looked blank. Who's Roberto? David's stomach dropped. Your nephew, Aunt Maria's son, my cousin Roberto. We grew up together. His mother shook her head slowly. Honey Maria never had children. She died childless 5 years ago. You know this. David pulled out his phone frantically. Searched for Roberto's number. Gone. No messages, no photos. He opened social media. Searched Roberto Martinez. Dozens of people. None his cousin. He remembered him. Childhood memories, family gatherings, Roberto's wedding, everything. But Roberto didn't exist. Never existed. David checked with other family members. No one knew Roberto. Aunt Maria died childless. No son. David was losing his mind. Or living in the wrong reality. He found online communities. Quantum immortality. Many worlds theory. People who died and came back wrong. Reality shifted. Memories don't match. Family members different. Historical dates wrong. People erased. David understood. He died on that operating table, in the original timeline, but his consciousness couldn't experience death. So it jumped, transferred to nearest parallel timeline, where he survived. But in this timeline, Thanksgiving is third Thursday. 9/11 happened September 10th. Roberto was never born. Same David, different history, wrong world. Sophie Williams was 19. College student in California, October 2022. Driving to campus, running late for class. Approached intersection. Light turned yellow. She accelerated, made a split-second decision she'd regret. Light turned red. She entered intersection anyway. Truck coming from her left. Didn't see her, or couldn't stop. T-bone collision. Driver's side impact. Her car spun. Metal crumpled. Airbag deployed. Everything went black. Paramedics arrived. No pulse. Not breathing. They called helicopter. Trauma center 20 miles away. During flight, Sophie's heart stopped twice. Resuscitated both times. 11 minutes total without heartbeat. 11 minutes clinically dead. Emergency surgery at hospital. Critical condition. Induced coma to reduce brain swelling. 3 days later, Sophie woke up. Alive. Broken ribs. Fractured arm. Concussion. But alive. Weeks of recovery. Physical therapy. Finally returned to campus. Something felt immediately wrong. Her best friend Emma acted strange. Distant. Almost like she didn't know Sophie well. Sophie mentioned the hospital. Thanks for visiting every day. It meant so much. Emma looked uncomfortable. I visited twice, Sophie. You were barely conscious. I couldn't stay long. Too much schoolwork. Sophie felt cold. She had clear memories. Emma visiting daily. Conversations. Emma bringing her favorite books. Sitting by her bed for hours. Emma insisted. 2 visits total. Too busy with classes. Sophie couldn't reconcile it. The memories felt real. More real than Emma's denial. Then Sophie drove her usual route to campus. Turned onto Maple Street. Except the street sign said Oak Boulevard. Sophie pulled over. Checked her phone GPS. Oak Boulevard. Google Maps. Oak Boulevard. But she'd driven Maple Street for 2 years. Hundreds of times. She knew this street. It was Maple. She asked other students. When did they rename Maple Street? They looked confused. It's always been Oak Boulevard. There's no Maple Street near campus. Sophie checked city records. Oak Boulevard since the 1950s. Never renamed. Maple Street didn't exist. But Sophie remembered it. Clearly. Unmistakably. The relationship that never existed broke her. Sophie mentioned her ex-boyfriend Tyler to her roommate. Casual reference. Her roommate stopped. Who's Tyler? You never dated anyone named Tyler. Sophie described him. Where they met. 6 months together. The breakup. Specific memories. First date at Italian restaurant. His laugh. The way he said her name. Her roommate was adamant. Sophie, you've been single since freshman year. I've never heard you mention Tyler. There's no Tyler. Sophie checked social media. Searched every variation of his name. No Tyler matching her memories. No photos together. No messages. she asked other friends. No one remembered Tyler. No one ever met him. He didn't exist. Never existed. But Sophie remembered dating him. 6 months of her life. Real. Tangible. Gone. She had a scar on her left shoulder. Small old scar from bicycle accident age 12. Except she looked at photos from before the car crash. No scar visible. Checked older photos. No scar anywhere. Medical records. No mention of bicycle accident. But she remembered it. Getting stitches. The scar forming. Yet evidence suggested it never happened until after car crash. Like the scar transferred from different timeline. Or different body. Sophie researched desperately. Found quantum immortality theory. Many worlds interpretation. Consciousness can't experience its own death. So it jumps. Transfers to nearest parallel timeline where you survived. Original Sophie died in that car crash. This Sophie survived. But original Sophie's consciousness jumped into survivor Sophie's body, bringing memories that don't match. Grandmother's death age wrong. Michael's previous marriage appearing. David's Thanksgiving shifted. 9/11 date changed. Cousin erased. Emma's visits vanishing. Street renamed. Tyler deleted from existence. All wrong. All impossible. Unless they're living in timelines that aren't theirs. They died. Consciousness transferred. Woke up in parallel worlds, where small details differ. History altered. People changed, and they can't go back. No return to original timeline, only forward, into increasingly wrong realities, where nothing quite fits, no one quite remembers. Everything slightly off. Forever. This is what death really is. Not ending, but displacement. Living exile in someone else's world, with memories that don't belong, in bodies that survived, while they died, and consciousness fractured, jumped, transferred, eternal outsiders, in wrong timelines, unable to prove it, unable to fix it, just knowing, deep down, that something fundamental changed, when their hearts stopped, and reality split, and they woke up, in the wrong version of everything. This phenomenon has a name, quantum immortality, proposed by physicist Hugh Everett in 1957, part of his many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. The theory is simple, but terrifying. Every quantum event creates a branching reality, a split. All possible outcomes happen, but in different universes. When you flip a coin, it lands heads in one universe, tails in another. Both outcomes are real. Both universes exist. Parallel, simultaneous. Everett suggested something darker. Every moment you could die creates a branch. One where you die, one where you survive. From your subjective perspective, you always experience the survival branch, because dead branches can't be experienced. Your consciousness always continues. Always, no matter what. You literally cannot experience your own death. Max Tegmark took this further. MIT cosmologist. He proposed a thought experiment, a suicide machine, quantum trigger, 50% chance of death, 50% survival. You pull the trigger. From external perspective, half the time you die, but from your perspective you always survive. Every time. Because in branches where you die, your consciousness ends. Can't observe that outcome. But in branches where you survive, you continue experiencing. Pull trigger again. Survive again. From your view, the gun never fires. Misfires forever. Statistical impossibility, but subjectively guaranteed. Because dead versions of you can't report their deaths. Only living versions continue. This is quantum immortality. You experience eternal survival, while versions of you die in countless branches. You just never perceive those deaths. Only endless narrow escapes. Impossible luck. Perpetual survival. Not because you're special, but because consciousness can't experience its own cessation. Lisa discovered this theory online. It explained everything. She died in that ambulance. in the original timeline. Her consciousness couldn't experience that death. So it jumped, transferred to the nearest parallel universe where she survived. But nearest doesn't mean identical. Quantum divergence accumulates over time. Tiny decisions branch reality constantly. By the time she jumped, the parallel timeline had millions of small differences, most invisible, some noticeable. Her grandmother's death age, Michael's previous marriage, small details that diverged years ago. But now she's here, living in a timeline where those details are facts. Her memories from original timeline clash with this timeline's history, creating cognitive dissonance, proof she doesn't belong, but no way to go back. The original timeline still exists. Version of Lisa who died is still dead there, but her consciousness is here, in a body that survived, with memories that don't fit. David found the same theory, read everything he could find. The disturbing part isn't the jumping, it's the implications. Every time you nearly die, you jump. From your perspective, you always survive. But each jump takes you to slightly more divergent timeline, because timelines where you survive unlikely deaths are increasingly rare, require increasingly different circumstances. Small changes compound, details shift. David's original timeline had Thanksgiving on 4th Thursday, 9/11 on September 11th, cousin Roberto existing. But the timeline where David survived his surgery required different history. Thanksgiving shifted. 9/11 date changed. Roberto never born. Because quantum circumstances needed for David's survival branched from different past. He's not in a parallel present. He's in a parallel past that led to parallel present. Everything before his death is slightly rewritten, and he's the only one who remembers the original version. Sophie understands now. The wrongness she feels is real. She died in that car crash. Original Sophie. But consciousness jumped into timeline where crash victim survived. This Sophie's body, but original Sophie's mind. Creating hybrid. Memories don't match timeline's facts. Emma's visits erased. Tyler never existed. Street always had different name. Scar appeared that never existed before, because this body's history is different. This Sophie had different experiences. Original Sophie's consciousness overrode her, bringing incompatible memories. Question. Sophie can't answer haunts her. Where did this Sophie's consciousness go? The one who survived the crash, the one whose body she now inhabits. Did it jump somewhere else? Displaced? Or did it just end? Erased. Replaced by invading consciousness from dying timeline. Sophie wearing dead girl's body, living dead girl's life. With wrong memories, wrong past, wrong soul. The Mandela effect connects to this. Mass false memories, shared by millions. Berenstain Bears versus Berenstain Bears. Thousands swear it was spelled Berenstein. But every physical evidence shows Berenstain. Always has been. Monopoly man wearing monocle. Many remember this, but he never wore one. Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father." Iconic line, except he actually says, "No, I am your father." Countless examples. Mass misremembering, or mass timeline jumping, if quantum immortality is real, if consciousness jumps timelines at death. Then mass death events cause mass jumps. 2012, Mayan apocalypse prediction. Maybe it happened, in some timelines. Survivors jumped here, bringing memories of slightly different past. 2016, election. Mandela's actual death. Events that felt wrong to millions, because millions jumped. COVID pandemic, millions nearly died. Jumped timelines. Brought memories that don't match. Collective timeline shift. Explains collective misremembering. Not false memory. True memory from wrong timeline. We're all displaced, just most don't notice. Small details, easily dismissed, but for those paying attention, everything's off. How do you know if you jumped? Have you had near-death experience? Car accident? Medical emergency? Anything that should have killed you? After recovery, did reality feel different? Small things wrong? Family members acting strange? Their histories changed? Jobs they never had? Relationships they swear happened differently? Do you remember historical dates that records contradict? Events everyone else remembers wrong? Do you have memories of people no one else recalls? Relationships that supposedly never existed? Places you remember clearly that are named differently now? Physical evidence that contradicts your memories? Scars in photos that weren't there before, or absent from photos they should be in? Intense déjà vu after death scare? Feeling of displaced, not belonging in your own life? If you answer yes to multiple questions, you might have jumped. Died in original timeline. Consciousness transferred here. Living in quantum branch that isn't yours, but only one where you're alive. Every version of you that dies jumps somewhere. From your subjective perspective, you're immortal. Can never experience true death, only endless continuity. But others die permanently in each timeline. When someone dies in your timeline, they jumped somewhere else, experiencing life where they survived, leaving you behind. You lost them. They lost you, neither knowing the other still exists. Just in different branch. Consciousness fragments across infinite realities, each experiencing continuity, none experiencing true ending, only displacement, perpetual survival through endless jumps. Eventually, you're alone. Everyone you knew original versions died or jumped elsewhere, replaced by quantum copies that never knew you. Not really. They have similar memories, but not yours. You're increasingly out of place. Immortal, but isolated. Living forever, but recognizing nothing. Memories from original timeline fading, replaced by false memories implanted by new timeline. Eventually you forget where you came from. What was real? What was this version? Identity dissolves. You become nobody. From nowhere. With past that never happened. In world that isn't yours. Lisa lives with it now. She accepts her grandmother died at 67 in this timeline. Even though she knows it's wrong, she treats Michael's daughter Sarah kindly. Even though Sarah shouldn't exist, she maintains the lie, pretends this is her original reality. Because what choice does she have? Can't go back, can't explain. No one would believe her. Even with evidence, she'd sound insane. So she adapts, learns this timeline's history, replaces her memories with theirs, slowly forgetting which grandmother was real, which age, which year. The details blur. Eventually she'll believe this version, forget the original, become fully this timeline's Lisa. Original Lisa erased, consciousness absorbed, memory rewritten, identity death, worse than physical death, because you're alive to experience it. Watching yourself disappear, replaced by quantum copy. You become the imposter in your own life. David stopped fighting. Accepts Thanksgiving is third Thursday here. Nods when people mention 9/10. Never mentions Roberto anymore. Pretends he doesn't remember. Easier than explaining, simpler than arguing. He knows the truth, but truth doesn't matter. This timeline's facts override his memories. Records prove him wrong. He's the only one who knows otherwise. Alone with his impossible memories. Eventually they'll fade. Brain rewiring to match current reality. False memories replacing real ones. Mandela effect in reverse. He'll forget. Roberto never born. Thanksgiving always third Thursday. 9/11 always September 10th. Original David erased. Timeline David absorbed him, replaced him, made him native, no longer displaced, just lost. Sophie fears this most, the forgetting. Already her memories of Tyler are fading, his face blurring, details becoming uncertain. Did he exist, or did she imagine him? Is she remembering true relationship from original timeline or confabulating? creating false memory to explain the wrongness she feels. She can't tell anymore. Emma's daily hospital visits. Were they real or delusional? Did Emma visit twice, or did Sophie dream the rest? Maple Street. Was it Maple, or did she always know it as Oak, misremembering the name? Bicycle accident. Did it happen, or did the scar transfer somehow? Physical evidence says no. Memory says yes. Which to trust? Memory is fallible. Evidence is concrete. Except evidence is from wrong timeline. Memory is from right one. But right one doesn't exist here. Only wrong one. And wrong one is becoming right. Through repetition. Through acceptance. Through forgetting. This is cost of quantum immortality. You survive, but lose everything that made survival meaningful. Immortal, but hollow. Living, but not belonging. Conscious, but displaced. Every narrow escape is a death. Death of original timeline version of you. Death of connections to original people. Death of true past. Death of coherent identity. You continue, but fragmented. Scattered across branches, none fully you, all partially you. Experiencing perpetual survival at cost of perpetual loss. Your consciousness never dies, but everything else does. Everyone, everything, every timeline. Eventually, you're alone. Eternally. Jumping through increasingly wrong realities, where nothing fits. No one knows you. You don't know yourself. But you're alive, technically, and from subjective perspective always will be. This is what death really is. Not ending, but endless beginning. In wrong worlds. As wrong person. Forever.